Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you an energy update for the entire month of August 2022. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 of the main themes you may experience over the course of this next month. Theme number 1, shining bright unapologetically. I would suspect a lot of you folks out there, a lot of you light workers, have learned to dim your light, to reduce the full capacity of your authentic expression. And we do this because as young kids, we realize it doesn't always get the ideal reaction. It sometimes can trigger people. It sometimes can provoke nastiness from other people, resistance from other people. And we learn that we don't like the feeling of that. One, we don't like to upset people, even if we are just being really cool and nice. And we don't like the feeling of people's stuff being projected onto us. So as young kids, a lot of us learn to quote unquote dim our light, reduce who we are, to not rustle any feathers. But the problem is, with this powerful month of August, what's happening is that authentic fire within you is coming alive. And it no longer can be contained, regardless of the outcome. We were in ceremony, this powerful plant medicine ceremony the other night, and I was kind of sitting there doing my thing. It's been a long day. It was a time that a lot of people were being quiet, and all of a sudden I heard this beautiful angelic voice singing this song that I bet a lot of you know. It's Over the Rainbow, that little childhood, that little like children's lullaby. One of the guests got up there and just started singing this song from this really neat book, and all of a sudden it captured the entire attention of like 50-something people that were there, and myself included. And I found myself being very moved by this beautiful voice. Little lullaby was so, I can't tell you how timely it was and how amazing it was and just how good of a singer this woman was. And the reason I'm telling you all this is later that day, when the ceremony had kind of concluded, people are eating, I ended up finding myself standing next to her, and I was like, that was amazing. I said, you have no idea how many breakthroughs I had during your song. That was fantastic. And she said, oh, wow, I'm glad you liked it because I haven't sang in public since I was a little kid. And I was like, me and my friend Aaron were there. We were like, well, what? Are you serious? Why? It's phenomenal. Why? She said that when she was a little kid, she was singing, and some little punk, little fucker, some little kid said she had an ugly voice. Oh, I could understand how that would make her feel. And even though her voice to me was so good, and not only good, but it was moving. It like had this power, this beautiful, like humble power to it. One remark from one little punk kid, and she dimmed her light from the world for up until recently. I was proud of her. She finally, sort of case in point to what I'm saying. But my point is, you might relate to that in your own way. I know I do. As she was singing, I was having this exact same epiphany, this realization that my energy, the way I go through life, has kind of a wall around it, has kind of like a hardness around it, because when I was young, I was much more open, you could say energetically, but there's unexpected sort of traumatic feedback we get from our reality. But now is the time to let your light shine. And yes, you're right. Your mind says, well, we don't do that because you might trigger somebody, and that's not going away. In fact, even more so, because your light is so freaking powerful now, you might trigger people a lot. But the point is, you gotta just be yourself. It's gonna become too challenging. You're gonna become weighed down when you don't just be yourself, and you owe it to the world. Even when you trigger people, that's benefiting them. That's shining light on their own darkness. Now, what they do with it is on them. But it's your job to be yourself. And this month, I predict you won't be able to stop yourself from shining bright. Another big theme this month is letting it be fun and easy. A good buddy of mine, Melanie Beckler, she's got this YouTube channel. You may have seen her, from Ask Angels is her name. And years ago, she said that she has this, an affirmation she always says to herself, and let it be fun and easy. Now that's such a simple phrase, and it's easy to hear it and sort of just like overlook what it really is saying. To remind ourselves just to allow life to be not only easy but also fun. It's how life works. It's how the universe works. There's support, there's divine guidance, there's very quick manifestation. Life can be so fun and easy, but a lot of us have been taught to believe it needs to be hard. How many of you think or find yourself needing to struggle to reap the goodness out of life? And you know what? When you go through life very disconnected from your intuition and your source of power, it is a lot harder work. And we've all had to experience that throughout our life. But now, what I'm saying is that we don't need to work so hard. When we are acting from alignment, things are not only fun and easy, but quick, and manifestation can happen in a very synchronistic, flowy, and mind-blowing and timely way. In fact, it's better, faster, bigger when we allow things to be fun and easy. So you might find yourself, more of a grounded way of putting this, you might find yourself becoming aware of things you're doing that are now, as of now, unnecessary. But sometimes to let go of these comfortable, familiar struggles can be hard, because it's almost like, can it really be this easy? If I let go of this, can I make enough money to survive? Can I live the life I want to live by only doing these couple of things that don't even take much time and are super fun and easy? Yes. Yes. This is a month following the lightness, following your authentic passions, and allowing life to do the rest. Number 3, going further, letting our guards down. And I put next to it, I wrote a little note next to it on my typewriter here, trauma healing. What I mean by that is all of us have experienced trauma. All of us have experienced things that have affected the way we relate to life, and especially people. And when we really start to take seriously the idea of letting life be fun and easy, in a sense, we kind of open ourselves to the stored trauma that's within ourselves. So it's kind of this simultaneous dance of letting life be fun and easy, and sometimes dealing with unexpected, not trauma, but like those energies of the traumas coming up kind of unexpectedly. And a lot of times we will experience this with other people, especially people you're close to, especially people that are hard to be around sometimes. And I'll give an example. One of the things, my wife and I were arguing just last night, and we were arguing about, we just got done doing a retreat here in Costa Rica, and she had an opinion about something that I thought I had already figured out, and I thought it was not her place to even have an opinion about this particular matter, because it's one of the things that I do, me and Aaron. And anyway, the point is, we got into this huge blowout, and we were going back and forth about like, who was right. But at the end of the day, what occurred to me is that my wife just was feeling that she wasn't being heard. And it makes sense, because she was the youngest of like 5 kids, and her mom and dad were like never around, and she went through her entire childhood not actually being heard. It wasn't this fear, it was her reality. And I can imagine how that must have felt for her. So this little argument represented, it triggered up her not feeling heard. And now is the time that you might find yourself more aware of other people's traumas being sort of projected at you. And that's not a problem. It's more of, you might find yourself having more patience and wisdom and an ability to see that. And not be, I'm learning this too, not to be so reactive to the energy being propelled from the trauma. And rather than like reacting, having more of a compassion and understanding, just having an awareness of what the situation actually needs. And I'm not saying this is just, you're gonna be this like magical space holder for others. You might find that you do the same thing in your own way. Certain circumstances might elicit an unnecessary, an overreactive type of emotional response that has nothing at all to do with what's happening and everything to do with your traumas that are now looser up in your system, that are coming up to be seen, experienced, held space for, and released. So the point is, we can't really let go into the flow of the divine and also hold on to our traumas. They have to go. They are precisely what's weighing us down and causing us to behave out of alignment, out of sync. So you might find yourself kind of juggling back and forth from bliss and grace to trauma responses, and having to, again, hold space for yourself. And if you're lucky and you have cool people in your life, they may hold space for you as well. But you might find it difficult to avoid dealing with some of the stuff you're still holding on to that's conflicting with this new flowier way of going about life. And finally, I may have said 3 things. There's 4 actually. The 4th one is trusting the divine. All of what I've said requires we trust the divine. If you're truly going to be able to let go and go with the flow with life without understanding how things are going to work out with real faith, we got to have faith in some kind of higher power, some kind of the divine, the universe, God, your higher self, your soul, your spirit guides, whatever. I don't care what you label it. It's there is something that seems to be like a driving and divine intelligence that is underneath all the different comings and goings of our reality experience, including what we choose to do. It all seems to be, there's like this underlying fabric. You can call it whatever you want. But you might find that it's easier now, over the course of this month especially, to trust it. Because you might see just how well it works and how timely and synchronistic life can be. As we start to go through this awakening and let go of our traumas and let life fun and be easier, we get to find ourselves more in the flow with this divine force than we are used to. And when we are more in the flow, life unfolds very differently, much more in a much more of a magical fashion, making trust and faith almost like common sense. Like it's just how it is. It's an observation. This is actually how life works, not because they read it in a book or because Victor said so, because this is my actual experience now. And you might find, I've found throughout my awakening, that the synchronicity, the true magic of life has become more and more and more mind-blowing, basically. Over the years, the more I've trusted, the more I've let go, the more mind-blowing my life has become. And I had this experience recently here in Costa Rica. A lot of you know, it's a plant medicine retreat me and my wife and friends were running. And it was a really unique, very unique the way my journey went. And I drank the medicine probably 30 or so times, which is not at all to say, look at me, that really means nothing. But I say that to put it into context. I've had quite a few ceremonies. And this one this time was very, very different. And what was different about it is every time I drank the medicine, I could feel like the mild effects, but no real process was going down. There was not the presence of like the spirit of the medicine this time, when every other time it's been, if anything, a lot of lessons, a lot of like, I'd say the medicines have a big presence, we'll say. And this time I just felt kind of mild, like not much was happening. An entire ayahuasca ceremony went by and it was like, I got nothing out of it. I did get something out of it, but it was like nothing really happened overtly, obviously. And then like a couple days later, we drank this other medicine and wachuma. Same thing, everybody's going, and meanwhile, everybody else is going deep, having these breakthroughs, and I'm like, oh, this is just interesting. I just sort of feel like neutral. Like I notice the effects, but it's like nothing's really going on. And almost into the evening, we drank in the morning the wachuma, then into the evening, there comes this particular point where no one's allowed to talk and there's music playing and it's like a silent altar, as they call it. And anyway, I said, well, all right, I'm gonna just find a place to rest. I had something important to do that later that night, so I just chose to lay down and close my eyes and just get some rest. And then once I closed my eyes and got some rest, this one song came on and it just, all of a sudden, I felt the medicine just like, goosh, just come on. And to my perception, it was like the ayahuasca spirit, the wachuma spirit. They both kind of made their presence known in a very, very obvious way. And I was like, holy cow, there you are. What's going on now? And all of a sudden, I started going through this like healing, this like beautiful, amazing healing, this loving lifting of some of my deepest childhood traumas were just being lovingly removed from my system as I just sat there in absolute awe witnessing it. And one of the things that came up for me was like how when I was a young kid, as many of you know if you've watched my channel, I was hit by a firecracker. And I'm not getting into the whole story, but it scarred me. It was a very big deal. But the point of it here in this particular context was how it affected my lack of safety in my like loving relation, like with like my relationships with lovers in general. And anyway, this is all kind of happening. This energy was coming up and I was feeling it, but it was being lifted. And all of a sudden, out of like 50, there's 50 people, you know, in this big area under the Maloka. And at one point, like after like 20 minutes of my eyes being closed, going through this spiritual surgery, I just happened to open my eyes and my wife was just walking by. I was like laying on the floor and she walked by. And as she walked by, there was lightning. And the lightning was like so bright in the distance, and it almost seemed like it was coming from her face. And then there's this loud crack of thunder. And to me, it was like this, psh, it was like all at once, that sort of guardedness I had around not feeling safe in my relationship because I felt like the firework damaged me. And eventually she's gonna figure it out. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit too deep into my own personal stuff here, but the point is that the synchronicity of that was just off the charts. The medicine stood by for multiple days. And then once the rain started, once the right song came on, once the perfect timing was there, all these things happened in perfect harmony. And I know the way I verbalized it may have sounded even confusing, but subjectively to my experience, I can't express just how like blown away I was at the timing and synchronicity. It was just not only like the timing was amazing, but just the nature of what was happening to me was so loving. It was like the world was finally like having mercy and saying, you've held on to this long enough. And it was just taken from me. It was so amazing. But anyway, that's sort of my thing. You may find that you have something, maybe not quite like that, but something similar in your own life where you really get to see a very personal example of just how not only magical, but loving life can be.